Hi, it's Anna. Thanks for tuning in. Um, so today I want to discuss a topic that's very close to my heart, which is the more spiritually evolved you are, the deeper you actually feel, which actually goes against a lot of the narrative that's become very popular, right? Of the notion that the higher you rise, the more detached you are, the more zen you are, the more completely detached from the pain of the world you are. And to me, it's this false sense of detached bliss, which is actually not true light. That's what I would actually consider false light. And it's actually a move towards anesthesia, really, and passivity and apathy. And the problem, the reason why this narrative is very popular, it's because everyone's tired. Let's be honest. This rat race world that we've created for ourselves is very tiring, and so I understand the drive to want to escape and detach and not feel anything anymore. But this desire to not want to feel pain is a huge problem, not only in the world, but definitely on this path, because it will cap your path. It will make you hold on to an illusion of progression and an illusion of enlightenment. So this is why I wanted to bring this today, because what I've noticed on the path is that actually, and I've mentioned this in many videos, the higher you rise, the deeper you go within yourself. That's the paradox of the journey. You're rising in frequency, but the process of rising is actually a process of going deeper and deeper and deeper within. And that process took me really by surprise, because as I was progressing on my inner work journey, I realized that, the inner work journey, it goes in waves, right, with the pain. But I realized that the pain was stronger as I progressed. Like as in, I was going deeper in the wave. And to explain this, I think the analogy of the river explained this really well. You initially you start, to remove what's blocking the river, the life energy, the life force energy in your body. Initially, you remove the smaller boulders, the smaller rocks and pebbles, and then you only get to the really big ones uh, as you progress, because you would never be able to remove the huge ones, the core ones, let's call it that way. You would never be able to move the core ones from the very beginning, because you have zero foundation, you have zero resilience at that point. You wouldn't be able to make it. So there's a divine intelligence behind it, but it also explains why, like the further you go on the journey, those last few years, when you go through the remnants of the karmic ties and all of that, and the remnants of the attachments, it feels really painful, because it's a really deep place inside of you. You're getting to the core, um, to remove the distortions there. So that's what people don't understand, and it's a problem. It's a problem because it's a very popular narrative, and we've been fed this narrative, with these the notion of a high spiritual being this monk on a mountain, right? But I mean, being a monk on a mountain is actually easy. I mean, being removed from society, removed from any responsibility, not having even a job, not having children to raise, that's an easy thing to achieve in comparison. The path that we're trying to do now is actually within our life. It's actually within the fire of being a parent and parenting multiple children, within the fire of still having to provide, for these children, and not having always the luxury to go no contact with abusers. So this is the reality. This image of the detached bliss, emptiness, and escaping the drama of the world is not true light. And if you compare the Zen monk, like I've mentioned before, that for me the actual true image of the enlightened being is Jesus Christ. He stood up to abuse. He was for justice. He was not for passivity at all. Like there's a huge warrior energy inside of him, and he was also very loving, also very compassionate. But it was a wholeness, and he was deeply anchored in his humanity. And so that's what this path actually is. When you're on the true path, um, is actually a process of going deeper and deeper within yourself and deeper in your humanity. Now, there's just something that I want to mention is that for deep feeling souls like myself, and I usually tend to attract people who are deeply feeling and, empathetic souls, there is light at the end of the tunnel in the sense that the issue in our life has been that we were way too open, right? Our field and our heart was wide open. And so we actually were absorbing everything around us. And that's what made us feel so much pain. And so this process of inner work for us is about actually sealing our field. So, anchoring, coming back to that foundation and that inner core, so we feel from within, and so we no longer like a sieve, for everyone's baggage and everyone's emotions. So there is a form of strength and non-attachment that does happen. That's very real and that's very true. But you're not losing your compassion though. So the difference is that instead of absorbing everything around you and um, you know making you sift through other people's pain through your own body, you're no longer doing that because you've got very strong energetic boundaries now, but you still feel for them. You can still feel that. It's just that you don't get swallowed by it. So there's a nuance there that I wanted to specifically talk about for deep feeling souls. Because yes, it's true. There is a form of detachment. There is a form of non-attachment. It's probably more accurate, where we're no longer so attached to things and people, but we still retain our compassion, and we still retain our heart and our capacity to feel. And in actual fact, we feel it more and we feel it more deeply. And the path, actually, when you're doing it right, and you will start feeling this deep love for God, humanity, and creation, and this deep sense of responsibility to be part of the solution, and this urge and this drive to want to come back and share. That's why a lot of people do that. When they go through very difficult situations, they come back and they share and they write a book to help other people. That's actually how it's supposed to be when you're doing it right, because you're still in your heart and you want to help people get out of that matrix frequency that I call. You want to encourage and inspire other people to do the same, so so we can all rise together. But don't just take my word for it. I actually want to quote some scriptures and some books to emphasize what I'm saying from high spiritual initiates that have come before us. So the first quote is from Rudolf Steiner, and that's from his book, The Gospel of John and the Other Three Gospels. And I don't believe it's actually him who wrote this excerpt. It was in the transcript, and from that person who actually translated the book. So this is the following remark. Some believe that highly developed individualities do not experience pain in the same measure as ordinary people, because they are capable of bearing a higher measure of pain. But this is not the case. The more a person develops, the more they feel pain, the more sensitive their soul becomes, even for the tiniest disharmony. For this reason, the individuality that stood head and shoulders above all others, and that was therefore able to bear all the suffering in the world, had to feel pain more intensely than anyone else. And that's in reference to Christ. Christ didn't rise above the earth to escape it. He dived into the earth density to feel and transform it from the inside. And I think one problem is that um, the word enlightenment is not properly understood. When you look at the etymology of the word, it actually means to light up, to shine. So enlightenment is just a process of, expanding our awareness and, coming into this state of wholeness, so we're able to anchor more and more light. That's what it is, shining a light on all our distortions so that we become pure light, and then we can shine that outward, to light up, to shine. So one of the fundamental difference that I see between an enlightened being like Jesus Christ and the other version of enlightenment that's more checked out. This checked out version actually tells you that everything's fine with the world. Everything's perfect, exactly the way it is. Suffering is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And, there's nothing wrong. Whereas the other version, that is, in my opinion, is true light, and that was very much modeled by Jesus Christ, is that it's actually not all right. It's not all fine. And the deeper you go within yourself, the deeper you can see that, when you wake up, when you fully become aware and you rise up in higher levels of consciousness, it's actually not being checked out and blissful. It's actually seeing things more clearly, seeing the world exactly as it is, seeing yourself exactly as you are, and seeing people exactly as they are. And so when you see the world exactly as it is, you can see that it's not fine. There's just so much suffering. And, there's just so much abuse. And, humanity is not evolving. It's actually devolving. So that's the fundamental difference between the two. And when you attune to true light, um, you will be able to feel that, and it doesn't mean that you become swallowed by it. It doesn't mean that you wallow in it. It doesn't mean that you give up and you think that everything's pointless. It's not that at all. It actually gives you a fire to just come out and share what you've learned, um, and be of service, because we all a team and we all need to do this, and be of service to whoever you can assist in your small sphere of influence. Everyone has their role to play, whether it's online, or whether it's in just their family, or whether it's in their community. The second remark and quote is from the Agni Yoga glossary, and it describes the advanced aura as musical strings upon which the burden of the world plays its symphonies. In the book titled Hierarchy, it also reads, "The warrant of broadening consciousness lies in the development of sensitiveness." And I'm a big fan of this analogy of the instrument, and I've used that many times. So you can view it as the advanced soul's heart becoming like a more delicate musical instrument. So as you rise, your heartstrings become more tightly strained. It doesn't make you brittle, like I said. It makes you resonate with vibrations that others are too thick to feel. So you feel the world's joy more intensely, but you also feel its agony more accurately. The next excerpt that I have is from the Bhagavad Gita, from chapter 5, verses 25. "Those holy persons whose sins have been purged, whose doubts are annihilated, whose minds are disciplined, and who are devoted to the welfare of all beings, attain God and are liberated from material existence." So again, emphasizing the fact that, it's about actually feeling the pain of others to the point that you want to be part of the solution, devoted to the welfare of all beings. You don't want to just escape on a mountain, or, be just focused on manifesting your millions of dollars. Then I've got two excerpts from the Bible. The first one is from Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 4. "And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof." And the second one is Isaiah chapter 61, verse 3. "To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that it might be glorified. So, it talks about the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. It's all about feeling. It's all about feeling, guys. A personal favorite of mine, that's from Torkum Saradarian and his book Joy and Healing. The path of evolution is the path of increasing sensitivity. As you rise higher, you do not feel less, you feel more. You feel the pain of others as your own, but you also feel the ecstasy of the divine in a way that was previously impossible. So this is the reality of the path, and it goes against what's been painted and what's been very popular, especially in recent decades. Um, and it can create a lot of confusion for people because, like I said, for me, at one point I was feeling such pain. I was diving into so much deep pain, and I was thinking, what's wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? Because I'm evolving on the path, but I'm feeling that pain, and that's because that's actually how it works. It's a process of going deeper and deeper within, and feeling deeper and deeper. That being said, though, as you evolve on this path, as you progress on this path, and as you truly rise in consciousness, and you really embody that level of consciousness and beingness, you come to a point where you no longer learn from so much pain and suffering because you've done the work of clearing, so much of that distortion and density in your body. And so that's when you can graduate to actually learning more from peace and joy. So it doesn't mean that you're always going to feel so much. But the purpose of this video is to encourage you to continue to feel, because the more you feel, the more progress you're making. And if you're trying to prevent yourself from feeling by over intellectualizing or creating that level of detachment, this artificial level of detachment or this artificial level of bliss, you're actually making the path longer for yourself, because you're going to have to come back and feel that pain. Um, and when you reach the stage of, when you're able to learn from peace and joy, it's really true, it's real, because you've anchored a strong foundation. But even in this state of peace and joy, you still feel for others. If you lose a loved one, you're going to feel that grief. You're going to feel it all. And that's the beauty of it. We don't want to escape our humanity. This path of ascension is happening through our body, and this hypersensitivity, sensitivity is a gift. And the problem that we have in this society is that not enough people are sensitive enough. Not enough people are feeling enough. They've numbed their heart. If people were sensitive, they would realize that, they would stop acting the way they are, and, everyone would become more loving all of a sudden. So if you are a deep feeling soul, and if you are sensitive and going into deeper and deeper levels of sensitivity, you're on the right track. You're an absolute gift to this world. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking that you're not on the right path. And don't let what's popular online detract you from knowing that you're on the right path. Because this path is actually all about our humanity, and it's about compassion, it's about love, it's about truth. It is about feeling. Feeling is a gift. Feeling is a strength. Feeling is a superpower. The more accurately and the more deeply you feel, and the more you're able to feel subtle levels of energy and intuition, the more clarity you get, the deeper you can go into what you're able to achieve in your life, the more energy you get in your body, the more energized you feel. So that's in a nutshell what I wanted to say, that yes, in a way, we are building that foundation, coming back to that inner union and wholeness within. so that it does create a shield around us in the sense that we're not going to be wallowing in so much pain from others, especially if you've been quite empathetic. Um, so there is a level that you achieve where you're able to have a bit more detachment, but you still feel. You still feel for people, and you still feel for their pain, and you will, want to be part of the solution and have this strong sense of responsibility to come back and be of service. Um, Being truly of service from a place that's not self-serving, but that's actually from wanting to be an instrument of the divine will, um, comes because of that sensitivity to the pain of the world. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.